Hi everybody, this is Bonnie Barker with Bonnie Bay Crochet, and today I have a very special beret that I want to make with you, and this is called Cercle de Tres, which is circle of braids, and it is crocheted with two hanks of the yarn I'm about to show you. So let me show you the outside and the inside. These can be an awful lot of fun to wear and also very warm in the wintertime. Plus, you can make these in an evening. I think it took me maybe 2 to 3 hours tops to make one of these, so you could probably easily make this in a weekend. Now, this is an intermediate crochet project, but don't be put off by that if you're a confident beginner and you want to learn a new stitch. Expect a mistake here and there. There's nothing wrong with that. You can just gently pull back the yarn and try again. But I encourage you, especially if you're a confident beginner, in other words, if you know the basic stitches such as chain, single crochet, double crochet, and treble crochet, you should have all the skills that you need to complete this project. Well, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to need. For this project, I'm going to be using Cascade Yarns 220 Heathers. Let's take a look at some of the stats. This is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. Each of these hanks has 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, 220 yards, or 200 meters. I'm also recommending that you have a size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. And as always, I'm recommending that you have a yarn needle and a pair of sharp scissors handy. To begin, we're going to start with a slip knot and a starting chain of 4. We're going to make a circle by working a slip stitch in that very first chain, and we make a very tiny circle. All right, let's go ahead and chain 1, and working into the center of this circle, we're going to work 9 single crochets. Okay, and those of you who were paying attention a little more closely, you can see that I also crocheted over this thread, and I'm going to go ahead and trim that right now so that I have one less strand to have to worry about. Okay, so now we have 9 single crochets, and we're going to join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet of the round, just like that. Now for round 2, we're going to chain 1, and starting in the same place where we joined the slip stitch at the end of the last round, we're going to work 2 single crochets in that same space and in each space around. So at the end of round 1, we had 9 single crochets. At the end of round 2, you should have 18 single crochets. This is very important that you keep accurate stitch counts at this point. Actually throughout the entire project, but particularly important as we work the foundation for this hat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick double check on the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. You want to be careful not to add any stitches here, which was the join from the last time around, because that way your stitch count will definitely be thrown off if you did that. Go ahead and join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Chain 2, beginning for round number 3, this chain does not count as a stitch in this particular design. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets in that same place and in each stitch around. So 2 double crochets in each stitch. At the end of this round, you should have 36 stitches. So go ahead and finish that out. At the end of the 3rd round, we join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. And this is what you should have so far. Now for round number 4, we're going to begin the braided cable. We're going to start with a chain 3 at the beginning of this one. We're going to skip the first 2 stitches. Remember now that the chain does not count as a stitch as we work these cables. Okay, so skip these 2 stitches, and we're going to front post treble crochet in the next 2 stitches. And if you've never done a front post, it's just like working a regular stitch, except instead of working through the top loops, we work the hook around the body of the stitch like you're giving it a belt. Okay, so we do those 2. Now working in front of these 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble here and then in the next stitch beside it. Just like this. Okay, and after we do that, we're not going to skip anything. We're just going to go to the next 2 unworked stitches, and we're going to front post treble in those next 2 stitches so that you can see each of the foundations for these braided cables is a 6 stitch foundation, or a 6 stitch multiple. So we're going to do this all the way around. Skip the next 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we're going to front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped. The one that's furthest away first, or that appeared first in order, and then the second one that we skipped. And then simply front post treble in the next 2 stitches. These are the next 2 unworked stitches. All right, so I've done this 2 times, so I'm going to continue this around until we have a total of 6 foundations for the braided cables begun. I know they don't look like braids just yet, but as we add additional rounds, they surely will. At the end of the round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that very first stitch of the round, which is that first treble crochet. Let's stop and take a look at what we have. All right, now it's time to turn. This is the first turn of the project. So this is starting round 5, and we should have the back side facing us now. We're going to chain 3. Now we're going to skip the first 2 stitches and the next 2 stitches, which are these 2 stitches that are the ones that are on the surface. We're going to work back post treble crochets, very similar to front post, except we come in the back door, go around and go out the side door, so it's all on the other side facing away from us. Now this is probably the trickiest part that I'm going to show you. After working those first 2, we're going to work 2 back post trebles in this stitch, so 1 in each of these 2 stitches, and we're going to cross in front of these cables as seen from the front side of the work. So I'm going to show you, I'm flipping it to the back. We're going to come around and we're going to work a back post around this stitch, and the one right next to it, which is right here. And then the next two, which are right here. All right, and when you look at the front, you can see where the braid is starting to form. And you'll certainly see that a lot better after the next or the following 2 rounds. So now we've completed one 6-stitch cable. Now in between that last stitch and before we work on the new or the next braided cable, right in between those 2 stitches, so it's in that open space between, we're going to work 3 double crochets just like that, and then we're going to skip 2 stitches and we're going to work back post trebles around the next 2 stitches as we work the next braid. Again, working in front of those as seen from the front side. We're going to go back and pick up those 2 stitches. Let me show you what it would look like if you're looking at it from the back. This is the stitch we captured, and then this is the next stitch. I'll go ahead and work it this way, coming from the back, just like this. It may look a little bit tricky, but believe me, it is not. It's just a matter of understanding where the hook goes before you complete the stitch. And the next 2 stitches are right here. We don't skip anything before we crochet those. All right, so we have finished the second braid. And again, in between where this braid ends and the next braid begins, we're going to work 3 double crochets. These are the increase stitches that we're working. All right, and we're just going to do this for you. I'm going to do it one more time because this is a bit tricky for the first time. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble around the next 2 stitches, and I'm just working treble crochets here once I work it around the post. Now working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to come around. This is the front side here. We work this back post, double crochet. Again, it was around this stitch here, and then I'm going to work the next stitch beside it. I'm going to work it and just show you what you're going to see. So you're going to bring the hook around here, and then we complete that. And again, these last 2 stitches are crossing over the previous 2, and that's what you want to help form this braid. And then the next 2 stitches, just work back. Well, if I can get my hook around the stitch, back post treble crochets. And let's go ahead and do that one again. If you're not happy with the way the stitch looks, it's so nice that crochet is so easy. You can just pull it out and try again. And again, after I complete this 6-stitch braid, make sure you work the 3 double crochets in between that last stitch and before you get to the next stitch. Very important increases. Okay, so go ahead and finish this all the way around. I've worked this all the way around, and before you join, make sure that we work 3 more double crochets in between the last braid and the very first braid that we worked. And then I'm going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that first stitch, just like that. And let's turn and take a look at what we have. Let's take a pause here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 braids begun. I know they don't look like braids, but they will soon. And then in between you have 3 stitches, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. Very important. If you didn't do that, it would probably be pulling tight at this point. So always take the time to either count the stitches, very important on the first few rounds, or do a quick visual check to make sure that it does look reasonable before going forward. All right, so now to begin round 6, we're going to start with the chain 3, and we're going to work 2 double crochets in each of those 3 double crochets. And again, this is more stitch increases. And just in case I didn't give you the stitch count at the end of round number 5 was 54 stitches total. All right, so we're gonna still working on these 2 double crochets. I'm going to pause here. So these 3 double crochets now become 6 double crochets on round number 6. And then we continue with the braided cable. Skip 2 stitches, front post treble in the next 2 stitches, and it's easier to see which 2 that you work each time because they are starting to come together now. Now working in front of those last 2 stitches, we front post treble in those last 2 stitches that we skipped. And then we front post treble in the next 2 stitches, which are kind of hiding behind here, so you need to make sure we don't skip those or your braid will dissolve. It will not look like a braid any longer. All right, so let me go ahead and stop. So now you can see how the braid is coming together. And then we come to those 3 double crochets, work 2 double crochets in each. So let's pause and take a look at that. So make sure that you have 6 stitches where those 3 stitches were from the previous round. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 6, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Let's take a look at what we have. All right, so now we're going to turn, and for round 7, we're going to chain 3, and we're going to work braids all the way around this time. Skip the first 2 stitches, and we are working on the established braid here. Back post treble in those next 2 stitches, like we've been doing. And working in front of those last 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to back post treble crochet. In those 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. Now the 6 stitches that we've added in, we have enough now to make a braid, and we're going to do this the same way. Skip the next 2 stitches, back post treble in those next 2 stitches. Working in front of those last 2 stitches as seen from the front side, we're going to back post treble in those 2 stitches that we just skipped. Just like that. And then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. Okay, and then it repeats again. We work the braided cable over the next 6 stitches and then over the next 6 stitches, and you'll see you're going to have we're going to go from having 6 braids to a total of 12 braids at the end of this round. Your stitch count will remain at 72. 72 stitches was the stitch count of round 6, and it will also be the same stitch count of round number 7. So go ahead and finish that round. At the end of this round, we join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. Let's go ahead and turn. And so now you should have a total of 12 braids begun. You have the larger braids here, or the ones we began, and then the second set that are starting. Now for round 8, I'm going to start with the chain 3. Then we're going to continue with the braided cable, skip 2 stitches, front post treble, and those next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, we front post treble in those 2 stitches that we skipped, and then front post treble in the next 2 stitches, which are going to be hiding a little bit behind the other crossed stitches there. Okay, and just like a few rows back, before we begin the next braided cable, we're going to work 3 double crochets in between that last stitch and the next stitch. It'll be, like I've said a few times, it'll be right in between those braids as we add those increases in. And then we go to the next braided cable, skip 2, front post treble, etc., just like we've been working. But I'll work this with you one more time. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we skipped, and then front post treble in the next 2 stitches. And again, just be careful you don't forget the next step, which is working 3 double crochets in between that last stitch and the next stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and pause and show you what you should have. So go ahead and continue on and finish round number 8. At the end of round 8, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. And let's pause and take a look at what we should have. You should have a total of 108 stitches, and included in that is 12 braids. All right, so now we're going to turn with the back side facing us, chain 3. We're going to work 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. We're not increasing at this point. Skip the next 2 stitches as we work these braids, back post treble in each of the next 2 stitches. Let's try that one again. And working in front of these 2 stitches as seen from the front side, back post treble in the 2 skipped stitches, and then back post treble in the next 2 stitches, and again just 1 double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And this is going to be your repeat all the way around, and I will show you the join at the end of this round. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like from the front side as well. At the end of round 9, we join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round, and we still have 108 stitches. And of course, this is the back side. Let's go ahead and turn and look at the front side. Now on to round number 10. We're going to chain 3 And this is going to be an increase round. Skip those 2 stitches as we work on the braids. Front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then front post treble in the next 2 stitches. Okay, so that is what we do over the braids like we've been doing. And when we get to those 3 double crochets, we're going to work 2 stitches in each of those stitches. So the 3 stitches becomes 6 on this round. So you'll have 6 stitches in between the braids. Just like that. And so that is the repeat all the way around. At the end of this round, you should have the 12 braids and a total of 144 stitches. This is what you should have after completing 10 rounds. Now we're going to turn and go on to round 11. Now rounds 11 and 12 are going to be very similar. Round 11 will have the back side facing, and round 12 will have the front side facing. We're going to chain 3, and working in those 6 stitches, we're just going to work 1 double crochet in each of those 6 stitches. We're not going to be increasing any further in this project. Okay, and then the next thing we have is the braid. We're going to skip 2. I'll go ahead and do this for you again. 2 back post treble crochets, and then working in front of those last 2 stitches, we're going to back post treble in the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then back post treble in the next 2 stitches. And that's going to be your repeat. So go ahead and work that all the way around for round 11. And then at the end, you're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of this stitch, and then you're going to turn, and then you're going to work another round where you work over the braided cable using those same skip 2, front post treble, etc., and then 1 stitch in each of the 6 stitches around. So I'm going to go ahead and give you two rounds, finish round 11 and then work round 12. You will not be increasing in either of these rounds. You're going to have a constant count of 144 stitches, and included in that are the 12 braids. This is what you should have after completing 12 rounds. Don't worry if it's a little bit wavy around the edge. This is all going to start changing after this next round. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn, and we're going to work our first decrease round. We start with a chain 3, and we're going to work decrease or double crochet decreases over the next 6 stitches. We're going to work 3 of them, and they are worked like this. We wrap the hook, insert into that first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We do that again. Wrap, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. So you've changed 2 stitches into 1. Let's do that a couple more times. Yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, insert into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through. Let's do that one more time. Three loops, yarn over, pull through. So now we have 3 stitches where there were 6. Working over the braided part, skip 2. We work this just the way we've been working it. 2 back post, treble crochets. Working in front of those as seen from the front side, back post into the 2 stitches that we just skipped. And then we back post treble crochet into the next 2 stitches. So I'm going to repeat that decrease section just one more time. This again is worked over those 6 double crochets. Yarn over, pull through 3, and we do that 2 more times. Yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and we do that again. Yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. Just like that. So go ahead and work that around, and this is going to pull this hat inward a bit. So go ahead and finish that, and at the end of this round you should be back to 108 stitches, still working with those 12 braids. At the end of round 13 we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round, which is that first decrease way up there. Let's go ahead and turn, and you can see that we're getting kind of a bowl shape after that decrease round. This next round I think is going to further enforce that. So we're going to chain 3, and we're going to turn to have the front side facing. We're going to work the braid. I'll go ahead and work this with you. Skip 2, front post, there we go, front post treble, those next 2 stitches, working in front of those 2 stitches, front post treble, and the next, or the 2 stitches that were skipped, and then we're going to front post treble and the next 2 stitches. Alright, now we come to those decreases, and we're just going to work double crochets in each of those decreases. Just like that. And then we continue on with a braid, and then 1 double crochet in each of those 3 stitches that follow. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of round 14, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. We're not going to turn at the end of 14, but continue with the right side facing. Okay, for round 15, we're going to chain 1. We're going to work single crochets around, and we're going to start out by working single crochet decreases. We're going to work 3 single crochet decreases over each braid as follows. Insert the hook in the first stitch, and in the next stitch, yarn over, draw through all 3 loops. We're going to do that 2 more times. Insert the hook, pull up a stitch in the next stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 stitches. Now when we come to the double crochets, we're just going to work a single crochet in each of those stitches. And that's going to be the repeat all the way around. I'll go ahead and do that one more time while working over the braid. 3 single crochet decreases, that's 1, 2, 3, and then when we work over the double crochets, we just work single crochets in each of those stitches. So again, this is another seriously decreasing round. So go ahead and work that all the way around. At the end of this round, you should have 72 stitches total. At the end of this round, we join with a slip stitch to the first stitch of the round. And just to reiterate, you will have 72 stitches. Now we're going to chain 1. We're not going to turn. And we are going to work a single crochet decrease followed by 4 single crochets around. So we're going to work a decrease and then 1 single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then work another single crochet decrease, and then single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. So that is the repeat all the way around. At the end of this round, you should have a total of 60 stitches. At the end of round 16, we're going to join with a slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Again, do not turn, but go on to round 17, where we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work a double crochet in each stitch around. Again, the stitch count will remain at 60 stitches in the round. And also, let me also mention that the hat should be really curling around like this for you. If not, you probably have too many stitches in the round. At the end of round 17, join with the slip stitch to that first stitch of the round. Again, you have 60 stitches. Now I'm going to give you an assignment of 2 rounds, rounds 18 and 19, and they are worked the same way. We begin with the chain 2, and we work a front post double crochet followed by a back post double crochet, front post, back post. This is called ribbing, and we're going to work that all the way around. So at the end of this round, we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of the first stitch of the round, chain 2, and we do it again, front post, back post, front post, back post, all the way around. And then we are going to fasten off at the end of round 19, and I'll do that with you. At the end of round 19, which is the last round, let's go ahead and join with a slip stitch and go ahead and give it a chain and a tug. And I'm going to clip a generous thread. So let's go ahead, and I want to show you how you can hide this loose strand in case you've not seen this before. This is why you leave a longer strand so that you have something to thread into the needle. And we're going to look at the back side of this, and we're going to gently weave them into the threads. Okay, that should be good. Now I like to go on the opposite direction just to help prevent this from pulling out too easily. Okay, and if you wanted to hide it more than that, you can, but I think this is going to be sufficient. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that. And as you can see, I did have to tie in that second hank of yarn just on the last 2 rounds. I was hoping I could make this a 1 hank wonder, but we do have to dip into that second ball of yarn. But that's okay, because we can always use that for something else. And let me go ahead and show you how this should look on the inside and on the top. Well, I hope you enjoyed making this beret with me today. And if you are new to my channel and haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the new designs that I have coming your way. God bless. Bye-bye.